Hello, students, and welcome. Today, we're going to learn about some special adjectives that I know can be a little confusing, but are actually very simple once you understand the main rule. We're talking about words like some, any, much, and many. Don't worry, by the end of our lesson, you'll find them very easy. So let's get started.
Here is our plan for today. We'll build our understanding step by step to make sure that everything is perfectly clear. We'll start with the basics, then we will learn the most important rule, and then we'll look at each pair of adjectives one by one. And finally, we'll have a quick summary and some tips for your exam.
Okay, let's dive right in. First, we must understand the two main types of adjectives we are discussing today. What is the difference between an adjective of quantity and an adjective of number?
As you can see, one type answers the question how much, and the other answers how many. This is a very important clue. An adjective of quantity tells us how much of something there is, like some salt. An adjective of number tells us how many things there are, for example, 2 hands.
Now let's learn the most important idea for this entire topic. If you can understand this one slide, the rest of the lesson is going to be very easy for you. I call this the master key, the difference between countable and uncountable nouns.
So, what are countable nouns? Well, they are simply things you can count, like 1 book, 2 books. They have a singular form and a plural form. Uncountable nouns, on the other hand, are things you can't count individually, like water or ink or rice. We don't say 1 rice, 2 rices, do we? No, so they don't have a plural form.
Okay, here's a question for you. This is a common point of confusion for students, so take a moment to think before we look at the answer. Is the word money countable or is it uncountable?
So, the answer is money is an uncountable noun. Now, you might think that's strange, because we can count rupees and we can count dollars, and that's true. The words rupees and dollars are countable. But the concept, the word money itself, is treated as uncountable in grammar. That's a crucial point to remember.
All right, let's move on to our first pair of adjectives, some and any. We're going to see how our new understanding of nouns helps us, but there's also another simple rule to follow here, the sentence rule. The rule is this. We use some in affirmative or positive sentences. If you're making a simple, positive statement, you will use some. For example, I have already purchased some books.
And if the sentence is negative, that means if it contains a not or a no, then we must use any. For example, I have not purchased any books. You see the word not? That's our signal to use any.
Now, what's really interesting here is the special rule for polite questions. There's an important exception. We use some in questions when we are making a polite offer or request. For example, could you give me some bread to eat? Here, some is correct because you are asking politely and you expect the answer to be yes.
Excellent. Our next pair, much and many, is a perfect example of why our master key of countable and uncountable nouns is so useful.
And this illustrates the rule so clearly. Much is for things you cannot count. We use it with uncountable nouns like much ink. And many is for things you can count. We use it with countable nouns like many books. It's that simple.
So before you choose, always pause and ask yourself, is the noun countable or uncountable? Let's look at the first example. Is rice countable? No, so we must use much. How much rice was wasted? Now what about bags? Are bags countable? Yes, of course, so we must use many. Many of the bags were not strong.
All right, our last pair for today, little and few. Now these also follow the same noun rule, but they add an important layer of meaning that you need to be careful about.
So again, we see the exact same pattern. Little is for uncountables like help, and few is for countables like friends. The rule of countable versus uncountable is always there to help us.
Now, this is very important for your exams. When you use little or few, you are saying the amount is not enough. It has a negative meaning. It means almost none. So, if you say, he has few friends, it means he doesn't have many. And it's a bit sad. It suggests insufficiency.
We have learned all the rules, so let us now calmly recap everything. This will help you remember all the key points for your exams.
Here you can see all the rules in one place. Some for affirmative sentences, many for countables, much for uncountables. few for countables, and little for uncountables. This is a very useful table to look at before an exam.
Follow these 3 simple steps in your exam, and you will always choose the correct adjective. First, look at the noun. Is it countable or uncountable? Second, look at the sentence. Is it positive or negative? And third, think about the meaning the sentence is trying to convey. Please try to focus on understanding these connections, not just memorizing the words. Once you understand the logic, you will perform very well and use these adjectives with confidence. And for your final practice, think about this. Unlike little and few, which have a negative meaning, adding an a before them, a little or a few, makes the meaning positive. It suggests a small but sufficient amount. So can you now write one correct sentence using a little and one using a few? Thinking about this will really help you remember the difference and prepare you for any question that comes your way. Good luck!